Greetings. My name is Jamie Tonsing. I'm a senior disease advisor at the Global Fund based in Geneva. Prior to this, I was working for the Union Southeast Asia office in New Delhi for nearly 6 years. Today, I'll be talking about TB and COVID, focusing on what countries can do to mitigate the impact of COVID on TB services. This is the outline of my presentation to really talk about the progress we made in global TB response, what happened when COVID-19 impacted on TB services, what Global Fund response has been like, how can TB programs respond further, and lastly, to reflect a little bit on India's TB program. So this slide refers to the meeting in 2018 where countries committed at the UN high-level meeting on TB to initiate more than 40 million TB patients on treatment by 2020. We did well in the first year in 2018, meeting 100% of the goal to put 7 million on treatment. 2019, we weren't able to meet the same achievement as the previous year, already a slip there, but we already know by 2020, because COVID-19 happened then, that many countries have seen a steep decline in case notification. WHO Global TB report already documented that in the first 6 months of 2020, there was a decline of 25 to 30% in TB notification in 2020 compared to the same period the previous year. Global Fund 2 has been monitoring the impact on grant results in 38 countries comprising of 128 supported Global Fund grants. I think the results are very similar. There's been significant reduction for TB case notification up to 27%, and for MDR TB 39% reduction in 2020 compared first quarter of 2020 compared to the same period 1 year back. Based on the current results, we know now that 2021 targets that has been set in the grants, Global Fund grants, will not be met. And so we are encouraging all countries to come up with catch-up plans to robustly implement the national TB programs and also work with partners to meet the targets for the 6 months of 2021. This is getting into the country detail really to show you that which are the countries that seem to be most impacted. And as you can see from here on the right side of the screen, we see that mostly the high burden countries in Asia are disproportionately affected. Example being Indonesia, where it's a 50% decline, India at 26%. In terms of Global Fund response to COVID-19, I think Global Fund realized early that it needed to act quickly on COVID-19 if it were to safeguard the investment that is made over the past decades on TB, HIV, and malaria. So it made available up to $1 billion and allowed for operational flexibility to have in the existing grants to help countries fight COVID-19. To date, US $980 million has been dispersed to 106 countries and 15 multi-country programs to respond to COVID-19. Coming on to how TB programs respond and adapt to COVID-19 pandemic. So Global Fund last year worked with its partners to develop an information note called Catchup Plans to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on TB services. As you can see on the right side of the screen, they're available on the Global Fund website. And what we are really encouraging countries to do is implement interventions and activities that will help countries to meet these goals and objectives, to restore and accelerate the diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of TB. In terms of specific objectives, these are to reverse the losses in diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of TB to pre-COVID-19 levels during 2021. So secondly, not just the losses, but to accelerate the TB diagnosis, treatment, and prevention services to get back on track to attain the UNHLMA targets by 2022. And as we all know by now, it's also very important that we adapt TB care models to the new COVID-19 context and requirements. Lastly, to reflect a little bit on India's TB program. So India acted early, and I think that helped in its recovery that we saw later towards the end of the year. By December 2020, the case notification gap had decreased to just 12% lower in December 2020 than the previous year. And I think this is because India acted early. They announced a high-level rapid response plans and acted quickly to do what needed to be done at that time. Some of these initiatives were leveraging on COVID-19 response that was done through bi-directional screening for TB and COVID-19, contact tracing, hugely expanding molecular testing, home-based care through sample collection and drug delivery at home. Also, a lot of effort made towards active case finding to accelerate case finding and notifications. Treatment adherence through use of multi-month dispensing of drugs, digital adherence technology, family and neighbor DOT. Nikshay was a real asset for India. Not only did it sound the alarm on the impact of COVID on TB services, but it continues to help the program to monitor what's happening and to take timely actions to mitigate the adverse consequences. Political commitment and leadership. There's been renewed commitment and response to NTB by 2025, 5 years ahead of when the world will reach that target. I think if there is one lesson the world can learn is that it's possible to recover quickly if you have political commitment and you make sure the resources required for reversing the losses and accelerating the response are fully funded. And to end, the key to what we see as possible areas where this could be further, India could make further progress. This is really maintaining, expanding private sector engagement. As we know, private sector was equally impacted by COVID. And to mobilize civil society organizations and community response to really partner and complement the work of the National TB Program in India. So with that, I thank you very much, and I thank the organizers for having me and this opportunity to interact with friends and colleagues in India. Thank you.